Nicholas, in the context of family conflicts, you actually say in your book, as the conflict escalates, the wealth dissipates. Can you explain the role that effective communication has in dealing with this issue?
Yes, you can't avoid complete conflict amongst family members. It's like making an assumption that you're never going to argue. I mean, it's ridiculous. You're always going to have arguments within the family. You know, the whole point of having an effective relationship is you have your arguments and then you kiss and make up, supposedly. So, but no, what I'm trying to get at here is effective communication deals with those conflicts before they escalate to, become unrepairable, should we say. Anything that, so if there is a conflict that does arise, that's quickly and effectively dealt with. But effective communication is essentially sitting down and having what we call family days, board meetings. I mean, you look at the most successful businesses in the world, what do they have? They have a board of directors, and what do? They meet on a regular basis, and what do they discuss? They discuss how the business is going to achieve its vision and what needs to be done in order to achieve that vision. So what do we do with families? We set up a position whereby they have effective communication by family days, by having family days. That tends to be every quarter, and through those, I call them board meetings, family days. You can coin it any way you like, but people get the idea and the concept. It's formal conversations to discuss the family's vision and who is going to be responsible in order to help achieve the family get to its vision. So we set up things like family governance in these board meetings. We create things like, we discover and find out who needs mentorship or additional education in order to achieve what it is that they want to achieve. It gives every family member a platform to discuss their particular values. And speaking of values, we do the values elicitation exercise to uncover what every family member's values are. Because in order to have effective communication, you need to be speaking to that person's values. Again, we do this in more detail through our family days. I'm not going to talk about too much now, but it's understanding that particular individual's values. If you don't understand that person's values, it's impossible for you to effectively communicate with them. People listen according to their own values. But what you tend to get in families is you get the family member pushing their values onto another family member. And if you're going to be pushing something onto someone, guess what? They're going to just push right back. And what does that cause? What does that create? It creates conflict. And it creates conflict because you're not listening to me. And then the pushback is, well, no, you actually don't understand me. You don't understand me, you don't listen to me, and that just it escalates and becomes a conflict. A conflict that can be easily avoided and dealt with just by understanding that person's values. What do they value? Do they value family? Do they value finance? Do they value social? Do they value physical? Do they value mental? Do they value vocational? And these are the areas that we discuss and uncover amongst each family member. And again, it's having those formal conversations about within the family. It's dealing with what I call the elephant in the room. Dealing with the family business, dealing with the family's assets, dealing with the inheritance. Very hard conversation to have, but absolutely vital if you want to preserve the family's wealth for multiple generations. Talk about it now during your lifetime. Don't expect the will to do the work for you, because wills don't speak. Well, they do, they have one-way conversation, but they won't tell you why mother or father left a particular asset or business to each family member. This needs to be discussed during your lifetime. If you want your family to get on, if you want your family to succeed, have these conversations today. Have these conversations now, and have them regularly, not one-off. These are not conversations that you have informally over the dinner table. These are conversations, these are important sit-down conversations to be had amongst every family member without question. There's almost like a fear behind having those conversations, because it's the fear of the unknown. It's the fear of how will X, Y, and Z person take this particular conversation. But once you've had it, it's not that bad. It's never that bad, but unfortunately, you know, our human traits are we create stories in our own mind about what we expect that person to react if we say, you know, something to them that may or may not be uncomfortable. But in the end, when you have open, honest conversations, there's almost an appreciation amongst all the family members of the honesty. And especially if you don't get emotive with those conversations. What you don't want to have is, you know, having a difficult conversation which ends up, you know, escalating to a full-blown argument. That's not effective communication. Effective communication is getting your point across and then shutting up to listen to the other person what they need to say, and appreciating and respecting everybody's opinion. And where we come in is we act almost like an independent mediator to ensure that everyone gets their say. Because you're always going to have the dominant family member. I mean, that, you know, everyone's got a dominant personality. So where we come is we make sure that, one, there's structure within those conversations, not one person yelling instructions at everybody else, because you're going to get pushback. We ensure that there is structure and that everyone understands and appreciates everyone's values within the board, shall we say. And it's all part of creating those family governance structures, and giving the people, you know, giving the family members the roles and responsibilities within the family dynamic, so everyone knows their position.